But you said that you're still great friends, and that makes me very happy because I think that's so important, especially now with the pandemic, to nourish friendships. But you also mentioned that you stopped the project recently. So what happened between the summer months where you were deciding on what kind of product you might pursue and the moment when the project had to be stopped?
Yeah, so around summer, we started to work with a food scientist that we found here in Berlin, because in the first few weeks of the project, yeah, it was really bootstrapped. We just bought a kitchen machine. We started like blending the different ingredients in our kitchen. We bought some almonds, we got some walnuts, some dates, some nootropics, and we just like started playing the chemist, in our kitchen. It felt a bit like Walter White in Breaking Bad, just like
Yes, I was
yeah,
thinking exactly of that right now.
we're just like mixing the different products, and yeah, like we were like reaching to some eatable products, but nothing amazing. So at some point, we just decided, yeah, we might just outsource and getting some expert eyes on the product development. So we decided to hire a food scientist. So we had, I think, 17 different recipes, and after 2 or 3 months, we had the final sample, so the final recipe that we wanted to start giving around, to start gathering feedback around the product. And so that's what we did. We ran some user tests, giving the bars, putting the bars next to competitors to start getting some feedback on the effects, on the test, on the consistency. And that's, I think, the first time that we started doubting about our products. After the first user test we ran, the main feedback we got was that people were a bit disappointed about the effect of the bar. So like in terms of taste and consistency, everything was fine. But since we had been branding the bar as the brain bar, like improve your concentration, improve your focus, like people were expecting to have like a huge kick in concentration, like if they were consuming Adderall. But of course, with with supplements, most of the time you get the positive effects in the long term, and not as an instant feedback as you would get with caffeine, for example. So a lot of people are like, oh yeah, exciting, but I'm still a bit missing the instant feedback from
Mhm.
consuming the product. So that was one of the first signs, or like, okay, like in the end, the consumer has always the final word if they decide that your product is worthy or not. And they were already kind of telling us that by branding it around like brain performance, they were like really expecting a lot in terms of instant effect after consuming the bar.
How did you incorporate that feedback then from that moment onwards? So you're saying you developed a product, you gave it to the customers, and the customers were disappointed. But well, from what I understood, is that was, at least from a scientific perspective, that's exactly what it was supposed to be. So it's not like you were trying to develop something that gives you instant results and then it didn't. So it was the best it could be, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that was like one of the reason, but it wasn't the only one, because next to that, we also did some work in terms of branding, like coming up with a packaging design. We started building some landing pages, and then Sam and I started to run some Facebook ads, bringing some traffic on our page. So we kind of simulate a fake website that was already like allowing people to buy our product, to see if people were like interested enough in our product to start buying the product. And following a 2 weeks test, we also had like four results: the cost of acquisition, so like the cost to get one customer to buy was like really high, and that wasn't covering the price at which we wanted to sell our bars. So that was like a second sign, or like, okay, even next to the disappointment in terms of the effects, like also when we were bringing traffic to the website, people were like not convinced enough by a product in order to start paying for it. So it was also something that I think we should have tested way faster. We spent a very long time trying to develop the product and like mixing the ingredients and like figuring out the perfect recipe and the perfect blends of nootropics. Whereas we could have just maybe started by running those tests and see like, okay, let's say that we would create this bar without even thinking about the recipe. We could have already tested the likelihood for people to actually buy the potential product.
Mhm. So if you did it again, you would simply switch the order, so to speak. So first do the whole website traffic testing and then move on to developing the product depending on the feedback.
Yeah, exactly. I think that we spent like almost 4 months really working really hard with a designer, focusing about the branding and the packaging, the supply chain, how we could manufacture it in the family factory, what were like the machines that we would need to start producing the product. Whereas it could have been like a way simpler test to just like running all the testing and maybe like also do with pre-orders and be like, okay, guys, we are gonna be super transparent. Here is an idea for our products. We haven't decided about the recipe yet, but we just wanted to to test the water if there is like a potential interest for such type of product. And I think that as you said, we really did things in the wrong order. And if I had to start a new project right now, for sure I would first try to assess if there is a potential audience for the product I wanna produce.
I can imagine that that must have felt really, really disappointing for you as well to see that all the hard work that you put into your product and all the ideas that went into it, that it didn't work the way you were hoping it to.
For sure, but I think it's also like I think that the entrepreneurial journey, it's like it's really playing the long game, and you hear it all the time that that's by trying that finally something will stick. And the amount of learning that you get when you try to do things on your own is just like tremendously higher that the learnings you would get by just working in a bigger company. So we spent I think in total 7 months on the project, and either for Sam or myself, we learn a ton because when you want to start a project on your own, it means that you need to get started with design, with branding, with like setting up some landing page, setting up some Facebook ads. Like there is a lot of different topics that you would probably not dig in uh, if you had a more specific job. So there is
Mhm.
absolutely no regrets there, and I think that it was a ton of learnings in the way we would do things for our next project.
Was it a mutual decision to stop the project, or was there some disagreement between you two on how to proceed?
That actually went super smoothly. Like I think it was a conversation that was a bit scary to have, but we both felt that the early signs were not like pointing in the right direction, and we wanted to make sure to not keep putting money and time in a project that yeah that that didn't show some good early signs. So at some point we just like hop on a call. Sam was already back in Amsterdam, and we were just like telling to each other that we both felt the same way, that it was maybe better to stop now than keep spending money and time on that project where we could work on something else. So it was like a common agreement. At the same time, Sam was in Berlin for the whole duration of the project, but at the same time, he also felt that home was more in Amsterdam for him. So it also happened at the right moment because he decided that it was actually better for him to be in Amsterdam rather than in Berlin. So yeah, everything went perfectly smooth, and it was a common agreement, which I really appreciate.
So, what are you working on right now?
Following that, following the Raise Nutrition project, I really understood the needs of creating an audience first before trying to sell products, because I think it's way easier to develop an audience around a specific topic and then try to develop a product with your audience rather than working on your side for months trying to develop something and then trying to sell the product to people. Like I think it's way easier to get the insight and input from people that might be interested in your product during the product development phase. Because then, if they've been involved in the development, are gonna be way more excited and to finally buy the product when it will be ready. So at the moment, I'm trying to start blogging. I started my own blog at the end of December, and now I would like to start blogging about e-commerce and probably developing my own knowledge on the topic and just documenting all my learnings. I think that it's things that I would learn for myself, and so I just want to share it with an audience, and then maybe at some point starting to develop some online courses, some live cohort courses about studying in e-commerce. It's a topic I really want to become an expert at. So that's my goal for 2021.
I love it. And I've read your blog. I mean, you know that, but I want to share that because what I really like about your blog is that it's very, what is a good word to describe it? It's very raw. So it's not like you putting on, I don't know, a mask or a show to make it sound, extravagant or something, but it's really you writing these blog posts. So you've already shared that I've read the post-mortem analysis of this project. So there's more details on the story of the brain bar as you just shared it. And I really like that you really just write it like you would tell it as a story. And that's really something I love about your blog.
Yeah, that's really the idea behind it. I think that when you look at entrepreneurship, you get a lot of books about like all the successes and all the successful ideas, all the successful entrepreneurs. But I think that there is a lack of content about projects that didn't succeed, and that's where that there is the biggest amount of learning. So that was the starting point for my blog. I was like, okay, like everything that I've learned through the Raise Nutrition journey, I wanted to start sharing it, and that gave me the push to create that blog. And now I just want to document that entrepreneurial journey. There is a lot of things I'm interested in, and I'm gonna try to dig into different topics, and I can just document it. I think it's very interesting to try to document the journey. A lot of people are craving for like raw testimonials of what is the day to day to actually try to make some money online, starting like online businesses. I think that for a generation, it's something that's really exciting for a lot of people, but most people are a bit clueless about where to start. What's the most important tools that you need to master to get started, and so that's the idea behind the blog.
Definitely. I completely agree to everything that you just said. And that's also some of the idea that I try to incorporate with Walking the Talk, because also want to shed light on the stories, the things that didn't go well. And because I think there's so much value to exploring that and to learning about it. And also, I think it's important that we, as society, that we move away from only telling the good things, but also being, to be relaxed when talking about the bad things or the things that didn't go well, because it's fine. It's just fine. I mean, of course, it doesn't feel good when things don't go well, but I think if you find a way to talk about it, you can actually learn so much from that and also grow as a person to when you when you want to do something else next time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that by doing things on your own, even if it fails, the amount of learnings that you can get out of it, is just huge. Because you could spend like years reading blogs, reading books, following online courses, but you would still be at the starting point. So I think that at some point, even if it's not like the dream idea or the best idea in the world, I think it's really worth like giving it a shot. It might work, it might not work. That's not important, but just go for the learnings. Always try to prioritize all the different experiences that can teach you a lot.
Definitely. I actually had a lecture this week where the professor mentioned advantages to creating your own business right after university. And, that's also a topic where you can get very opposing views. You know, one side says, okay, definitely go for it, and the other side says, oh God, don't do it. Go get a job first and get some experience. But he actually said that, you know, if you think about it, your opportunity cost to 1 year trying to run your own business is just a salary of 1 year. But then the experience that you get in that year, you will never ever get that anywhere else. So it's so valuable to have that, and because it will shape you in so many ways, and you can take it to any project that you pursue after that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's also probably the in your 20s, you are not really responsible for a lot of things. You have no mortgage. For most of us, there is no children that we need to take care of. So it's like really the years where I think it's really worth experimenting a lot. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have like a lot to lose. Of course, you always need to minimize the potential risk. You don't want to be just give it a shot and then be broke for the rest of your life. But I think that there is like a way to try a lot of different projects and ideas without like yeah, without getting bankrupt with the first one. So I think it's really worthy in your 20s to just experiment a lot. There is a lot of potential ideas floating around, and at some point it's just like grabbing one and just try to give it a shot.
I think that's a great way to finish, a great way of summarizing it. Because we're already close to the end of this podcast episode. But I do have one more question for you. So after everything that we've talked about, do you still have, I don't know, some advice or some wisdom, some message that you would like to pass on to other aspiring entrepreneurs that you think that they should know?
First of all, I would say that it's quite counterintuitive with what I just said before, but reading a lot, it's something that helped me tremendously. Of course, it's nicer to read while you're actually busy on a project, but I really made reading a habit the last 2 years. There is like that famous quote that not every reader is a leader, but every leader is a reader, and that really resonates with me. That there is like a lot of insights that you can get for your own journey inside of books. And otherwise, that's what your podcast is about, and what we have discussed. That just get started. Like your first idea might not be the one that will take you to success right away, but you're gonna learn a ton, and in the end, like it might hurt a little bit, but that only makes you stronger. So just keep trying, and at some point, I'm sure that for everyone, if you have like real ambition, real motivation, and you go it with your full heart, at some point something will stick.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and for taking the time for our podcast today. I really appreciate it, Alex.
Thanks a lot, Melissa. It was a super nice experience. It really flew by, 40 minutes,
It
and
did.
it was a really nice first podcast experience. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. If any one of our readers wants to read more about you, of course, they can go visit your blog, right? So I'm going to make sure to put the link in the description box. And if anybody wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way to do
I
that?
would say through my blog. There is all my contact details on my blog, so I would be happy to discuss any topics with your listeners. So yeah, you can just direct them towards my blog, and I would be happy to answer anyone reaching out.
Fantastic. I will certainly do that. So thank you everyone for listening to today's podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to hearing you next time. Bye.
Bye.